Okay, and if we have a look at the team here, let's just check out, particularly in the forwards, as you mentioned, and it's a pretty strong-looking side, isn't it?
Yes, it is. With Sheridan in the front row, he's a powerhouse. Probably one of the strongest props in world rugby, so I think it's safe to say that the USA scrum could be under a bit of pressure today.
So this is the Pool B match between England and the USA. Can England get the momentum that they're looking for? We go now to our commentators again, Paul Dickinson and David Soul.
On the left-hand side, the American, and the referee incidentally today will be Jonathan Kaplan of South Africa, who certainly will be well known to most of the English players. And Phil Vickery, whose career was almost ended by a desperate neck injury a few years ago, he's recovered so well from it. Phil Vickery, MBE, of course, succeeded Martin Corey as the England captain. And Corey today is on the bench. And when you look at the bench, it's just so strong with the likes of George Shooter, Giant Matt Stevens, Corey Lewis Moody, and then the backs Peter Richards, Andy Farrell, and a player that I think will play a great part in this World Cup eventually is Matt Tate. I think he's an outstanding youngster.
Well, I think one of the problem positions for Brian Ashton has been the centre combination, and he's got Mike Catt, who's hardly in his first flush of youth, taking his position alongside Jamie Noon, who's a bit of a crash-bang merchant. Just getting the right balance. Does he play Andy Farrell? Does he play Andy Farrell from Matthew Tate? Someone who can control a game, and another left-footed option in the midfield, and then someone with electric pace outside him. It's all sorts of things to look forward to.
Well, speaking of the devil, that's Matthew Tate on the left-hand side there, along with the much older, much bigger Andy Farrell, former rugby league star, of course. And you mentioned Mike Catt. Of course, he was the man who took the last kick of the game in the World Cup final 4 years ago, when he just booted the ball out into touch when he knew that it was all over. But that's what they're all fighting for. England have never been in this position before. In terms of the defending champions, it will be absolutely vital for them to get away to a good start here today. So the bench and the rest of the guys there just waiting for the players to come out of the changing rooms. Lewis Moody just standing with a bit of bandage on his ears, which is pretty much par for the course as far as he is concerned. George Shooter there with a beard. So any minute now the defending champions will come out and will commence their campaign, and we've even got royalty here today.
Got someone with a crown on anyway.
Good to see so many English supporters. I wonder how many have travelled from America. A great moment though for Phil Vickery. He's such a committed captain, and he certainly made that position his own. Mike Catt, good playmaker, but has he still got what it takes to create his little bit of World Cup history? I wonder if Lawrence Dallaglio started the season thinking he would be here as part of the World Cup squad.
Well, Josh Lucy getting the honour of leading England out to winning his 50th cap today.
Ben Kay looking pensive. And Josh Lucy, it's only a small number of men have ever won 50 caps for England. Even smaller number who've won 50 and become World Cup winners. There are the Americans getting ready to stand alongside England. Mike Hercus has only scored 9 tries for his country, but he's got a hatful of points in terms of conversions and penalties. And this really is a new look American side. As I was saying, The number 12 centre, Fahafalau Ezekia, came from Tonga. Owen Lentz, the hooker, born in South Africa. Mekiola is also another Tongan, and the American Samoa player Malifa wears number 21. The teams will come out onto the park in just a moment. Can England win this trophy again? We shan't know for 6 weeks, but this game might give us some clues.
Well, we need to find their form, and they need to find their form quickly if they're going to make a successful defence of it. They've got plenty of experience, they've got plenty of talent in their squad. It's a question of harnessing it all and making it count for 6 or 7 weeks.
Let's not forget, in their group as well, we've got the strength and the speed of Samoa, the unpredictability of Tonga, the USA here, of course, and one of the great rugby playing nations, South Africa. So will Johnny Wilkinson be fit for any of those games? Certainly in terms of competitiveness, there's quite nobody to match Lawrence Dallaglio. Josh Lucy wants this one. And certainly Mike Hercus and the rest of his team will have a huge task on their hands. Jonathan Kaplan standing right on halfway, the match referee. The Stars and Stripes we will hear first. Here today. I was in Osaka for the World Athletic Championships recently, and I heard that national anthem a few times. I can tell you, perhaps not in that form. Still in Johnny Wilkinson, despite the fact he's not even playing here.
Well, absolutely. He made his name. I mean, he was always a fantastic player, but he made his name with that incredible drop goal that night in Sydney 4 years ago. But he's been bedeviled by injury ever since. I feel enormously sorry for him, even as a Scot. As a professional rugby player, he's played such little rugby since then.
Well, Sweet Chariot, the anthem for the England rugby team, and represented there by a huge number of international caps. You've got to pick one or two players out. You've got to pick Mike Catt out. I know that he's not in his total spring of youth, as it were. But he's such an experienced player, great playmaker, I think. We should never underestimate him. And of course, Lawrence Delalio confronting the scrummage. So here we go. Jonathan Kaplan gets this game underway. England in defence of their title that they won 4 years ago so dramatically in Sydney. No Johnny Wilkinson here. He's not even on the substitutes bench. But we're here in Lens at the Stade Félix Bollaert, the first game in Pool A. There's Ollie Barkley, substitute number 10. I think he's a very good footballer, is Barkley. The first set piece, good take there at the back of the line. The USA taking play to England. Alec Parker it was who soared above everybody else for that one. And the centre there, Paul Emmerich, playing in his second World Cup, took it on a few metres further. And as, of course, with all of the top teams in the world, the defensive line of England looking very good. They might have stolen it there through Ben Kay. So, first touch for Perry, of course, the scrum half. Away goes Chris Wiles. Good tackle coming in from Simon Shaw. Phil Vickery just making sure that the guys are all on side. But a good period of play here for the Americans. Once again, Paul Emmerich, but a penalty for England.
Well, Americans starting with intent. Certainly not backing off the challenge of running at England. Good defence there by Jason Robinson.
Interesting, isn't it, that Robinson has stopped playing club rugby, but he's still playing international rugby.
Well, I think he was on still, wasn't he? And I suppose preparing for this, he can retire from rugby at the end of the World Cup and cherish that moment when he scored a try to win England the World Cup.
Ollie Barkley, who we just saw there, apparently always likes to run out onto the pitch when the team comes out in last place. It's a superstition he's got. I don't know whether he actually did it today or not. It was taken right in the middle there by Ben Kay. Finds his forwards on. And they're still going. Simon Shaw right in the middle of it. Sean Perry, and he goes off his left hand, flicks it around. Lucy really couldn't get any momentum there. He's going sideways. And Perry decides to go himself. That was hanging on to the ball. Yes, it was. But a little bit of a glimpse there as to what England can do.
Lovely break by Barker there. Saw Hercules on his outside shoulder and just cut inside. And great support by Mike Catt. He had the vision to put in that long pass, but good American cover defence.
Just watching that again. Sean Perry there, who certainly has made this number 9 jersey for England his own this season, hasn't he?
Yes, I'm not sure it didn't find the right option there,
but Owen Lennox throwing in, almost a steal there by Ben Kay. Not straight by the Americans. Big fella, this Mike Mangan, 6 foot 5.5 inches tall. That's almost 2 meters. So that begins in the scrummage. McDonald, Owen Lennox and Chris Ostanovsky. And Sheridan, Reagan and Vickery. Lucy coming round just close to his pack there. Vickery just standing up. Shaw takes it. You see Shaw with some absolutely storming runs this year. He's certainly making his impact on this game. Early doors inside the first 5 minutes. Simon Shaw just dummied there, decided to go back inside instead of going outside to his winger. It's all England at the moment. Sean Perry just looking to the right, then to the left. Hanging on to the ball, John Worsley. Over the top. They're closing down that left wing. But they were playing
release, slow the ball down. Couldn't quite see who it was that transgressed, but it was very obvious.
No, we can't spot it from there, but the midfield of England was certainly working quite well, despite the fact that may have looked like a bit of a loose pass. Mike Catt and Jamie Noon have proved these a good work. Ollie Barkley, though, has really been on fire in his opening few minutes.
Well, if Johnny Wilkinson is out, which I'm sure no rugby fan, whichever country you support, wants to see, he's really got an opportunity to make the number 10 shirt his own.
Rather like Charlie Hobson did a few seasons ago when Wilkinson was out. So Ollie Barkley, prodigious player in his youth, and now hoping to get his first World Cup points for 2007. Interesting what you were saying before, David, about the midfield combination for England. Of course, there are two Newcastle Falcons players in the squad. Jamie Noon is on the park, but Matthew Tate isn't, and it would have been very interesting to see those two working together as they do at club level. However, got Mike Hercus now trying to draw level with England. Just about a minute or so after Ollie Barkley led the way. And the shoulder just saw that down to the clock.
Mike Hercus laying down the marker that if they're not, to make them pay.
So Ollie Barkley, the Bath fly half and centre, restarting for England. Left-footed, goes very, very high, and Joe Worsley almost got a hand to it. Worsley in with the tackle in any case. And Phil Vickery there, just trying to make life difficult for the Americans as well.
Play on.
I'm not sure that was Mike Hercus. I think it was Paul Emmerich there with a kick left to the field. Jason Robinson stays on his feet, doctors around, 2 or 3 players being helped there by Jamie Noon. Americans flying in there. They're bound to be penalised this time. And indeed they are.
Well, you have to say no finesse there. If you're going to give away a penalty, you might try and do it with a little bit of finesse, but very blatant.
Well, it's Mike Catt's.
Ball's not even out.
I was going to say it's Mike Catt's 35th birthday, I think in about a week's time, week to 10 days. He'll be looking for a good performance here. There is the number 12. The penalty taken by Barkley, deep down into American territory. It's almost as old as David Soul here. Oh my goodness. Well, here go England once more. Sean Perry just telling everybody to stay onside, but it's America who came away with it. USA Eagles just trying to drive forward. A little slip there from the scrum half, Chad Erskine. So here we go. Play through for Paul Emmerich. He has been trying, pick up there by the back row forward. Todd Clever is his name. He's got 16 caps for his country. Quite a good try scorer as well. Only gets 4 or 5 games, but slipped off the outside of the foot there. Mike Kirkus. In case you're wondering who that mystery voice was, it was, of course, our pit-side reporter, Robbie Knock, who will be going to occasionally during this game to get an update on all sorts of little bits and pieces. Just looking at a replay here. Good turnover for the Americans. So just over 11 minutes gone in this opening match in Group A. It's still England 3, USA 3. 2 penalties by the respective number 10s. Chad Erskine. Good tackle coming in. And look at the difference there between the weight of the 2 packs. Not as big as we have seen, or not as big as some of the differentials that we're expecting, but as you would expect. England, of course, by far and away the heavier of the 2 packs, and Lawrence Dallaglio trying to get a hand to that one. America still retaining control, but under a little bit of pressure there. Simon Shaw and Mike Catt, it was, I think, trying to bear down on the pass there. Now Mark Cueto being quite quiet, couldn't quite get the ball away, but stands up quickly. Jason Robinson in support. Sean Perry looking for it. Ollie Barkley spins it across. What they want is good, clean, fast possession. Joe Worsley takes it on another 3 or 4 meters. Now then, Barkley closed down very quickly by the scrum half, Chad Erskine. Perry once more onto that left wing. Barkley looking for options, and he finds one with Simon Shaw, but really, David, at the moment they're not going anywhere, are they?
Well, on a positive side, they're retaining possession, but really you have to say they're trying to get their runners in from too deep.
Well, that was taken quickly by England. Good tackle, good defensive tackle. Great running there by Tom Rees. We haven't really mentioned the Wasp flanker, but being flanked up by many as being one of the stars of this England team. Out to Cueto. Goes back inside, and Lucy wasn't quite in the right position there to take advantage of that little break by Cueto. Good tackle coming in from Chris Wiles for the USA. Dallaglio one-handed to Rees. Oh, and that's an interception, my goodness. This could be a dramatic score. He's got support inside him. And Paul Emmerich there just closed down. And that was a big mistake by England. And they've gone on 65 to 70 metres. But by the same token, they've just been penalised.
Well, interestingly, I think he might have been tripped there. And certainly the reaction from the crowd was one which suggested that there was something untoward.
Well, certainly, if we have a look at this again. Oh, that was the captain. My goodness. Now, that is spotted. He's going to get a yellow card, isn't he?
Well, interestingly, I think the whistling's coming because the crowd can see the replay on the big screens here. But
well, I think the referee is certainly talking to either his linesman or even the 4th official. But that hurt.
Well, absolutely. If you remember back in the semi-final of the Rugby World Cup, France against England, Christophe Dominici did something similar, and I seem to recall he might even have been yellow carded for a while.
I think he was, yeah. I'll tell you what, Phil Vickery is a very lucky man. As Ollie Barkley pushes that ball downfield. That was a howling error that led to the break by the Americans in the first place.
Well, I think he deliberately put his leg out there to trip, and of course the American bench absolutely incandescent with rage, and he's got away with it. Now whether he gets cited for it later on, we shall see.
Well, England not off to a great start in this opening match in Group A. Great take at the back of the line there by Ben Kay. There's Phil Vickery. Sean Perry just waiting. He's got such quick hands as Perry. Joe Worsley was the dummy runner there with Tom Rees, both of them of course playing for the same club, so they're probably used to doing that. And there's the third member of that back row club from Wasps, based in South Buckinghamshire. A little left-footed kick there. Now, did that go out on the full? I'm sure it did, but Jason Robinson eager to get his hands on the ball. He's done it a couple of times, but the Americans, I have to say, are quite well organised in defence at the moment.
They are, and they're slowing the ball down quite effectively at ruck and roll time, or England actually aren't moving the ball as quickly as they might when it's presented to them.
Well, that is Salisa Sika, who once again, another player who I'm sure I looked at on the computer and said he was born in the USA. But they're certainly finding some very, very talented players who've certainly shown a physical presence here, but play going on without him, without the left winger. Good drive forward there by the USA, taken over the gain line. This will go into touch. So we'll have a line out. 16 minutes gone. Quite a surprising scoreline, I'm sure, is that England are drawing level 3-3 with the USA at the moment.
Well, Bernard Lepasse and Sid Miller from the IRB intrigued by this contest. I'm sure Bernard Lepasse is not terribly happy after the result at Stade de France last night.
Well, I was at that game, and as I was walking to the station, it was very, very quiet indeed, I have to say. So, well taken by Ben Kay. Kay from the Leicester Tigers, of course, big man, over 2 meters tall. Just holding it up a little bit, and this obviously does slow things down, and then quite often the three-quarters take it on a very flat line indeed, with no momentum going forward. That's for another day, that discussion. Meanwhile, the Americans being penalised there. That is Mike McDonald.
Well, that time I think it was Alec Parker coming in from the side. Well, Jonathan Kaplan very deliberate in his decision, saying if he does it again it's a yellow card. But very frustrating when the ball is so slow. You can see it there. I think Owen Lentz came over the top, but Alec Parker transgressed by coming in at the side. And I'm sure Brian Ashton will be a little bit concerned that his England side haven't been able to stamp their authority on this game as effectively as they might do. I mean, the USA are really minnows.
Well, England didn't have the greatest build-up to the World Cup, not least, of course, with the injury to Johnny Wilkinson, but 2 defeats against France didn't help, that's for sure.
It just seems a little bit static, a little bit lacking in momentum at times.
Well, this time, is that for hanging on to the ball by Joe Worsley? That's not the first time he's been guilty of that, if it was that offence. There is Verfolu Esikala. There's Worsley. Can't quite see there, but
well, he's just lying on top of the ball. There's no way that Sikia could have got to that.
Well, the penalty count certainly in favour of England at the moment, but they've got to avoid all of those sort of mistakes, because when they come up against stronger opposition, they could be severely punished. So a line out right on England's 10-metre line. Well, Vickery right at the back there. Mark Sheridan almost got his hands to that. Andrew Sheridan, rather, this giant of a prop forward. There's a nice pass there by the American scrum half, Chad Erskines. Caught up by Tom Rees. Tom Rees has certainly done some great work in terms of defence. Now then, Mark Cueto, left-footed, saw a bit of space. Come half there. Easing the ball back to Jason Robinson. Now can the left winger attack from here? Stays on his feet. Onto the halfway line. There's Cueto. And away goes Perry, along with Shaw, linking nicely. Perry was very quickly up on his feet there. The captain there being bundled off the ball. Sheridan picks up. So does Vickery. Sheridan once more. And USA to be penalised, I think. This time we'll see Ollie Barkley have a little potted goal there.
Well, the Americans being very, very competitive at the contact areas and, living on the edge of the law, I think. And sometimes, obviously, as in this case, beyond it. They went to ground there. That's where the penalty came from. But, I thought the ball was free. Whether it came from an offside position, that was possibly why. But
I think it was offside.
I think they're causing England a lot of problems. And England unable to control that contact area in the way that they'd like to.
I think it's fair to say that the Americans finding themselves in this position against Brian Ashton's outfit is that they will push the laws to the limit, won't they? Because they know they've got to take a few risks. Come on, boys, says Lawrence Dallaglio, or words to that effect.
But equally so, England should be, so much stronger, so much fitter, so much more technically superior than the USA, that they ought to be able to exert that authority with some ease over a side like the USA.
So just a couple of steps into the ball for Bath's Ollie Barkley. Certainly an able substitute for Johnny Wilkinson. On to left-footed, straight as a die. That was a wonderful kick from the England number 10, and England now back in the lead.
Well, you wouldn't notice the difference in the end result between Ollie Barkley and Johnny Wilkinson at the moment. Certainly as far as the goal kicking is concerned.
Very similar stance, isn't it, to JW? Then nice relaxed run into the ball. I think Ollie Barkley is typical of a lot of outside halves or kickers these days. Doesn't matter how far the kick is, it's always the same number of steps. So England 6, USA 3. Restart. Sean Perry moving it back in field quickly. And an almighty kick there over the halfway line. And of course we had this situation a little while ago where Ollie Barkley actually proved to be a very, very good number 12 when Wilkinson was playing outside half, because of that left foot that he's got. It's absolutely fabulous.
Well, they've got a number of pretty versatile players. I mean, Matthew Tate's another one who equally adept at centre, wing, fullback.
Good tackle there by the lock forward Simon Shaw. USA come away with it onto the centre. Ezekiel. Mark Reagan just dashing down. Yeah, Mark Reagan certainly is coming to his own this season. How old is he now? Mark Reagan is about
152.
152, that's right. No, but he's had a resurgence, hasn't he, after one or two lean years.
Well, him and Sean Perry, both Bristol boys, and Richard Hill. So, there he is, England hooker to Simon Shaw. Massive man is Simon Shaw. We've got, 4 Wasp players in that front 8. The whole of the back row with Rhys Dallaglio and Worsley, and then, of course, Simon Shaw. And Phil Vickery, of course. What am I talking about? So you don't really think of Phil Vickery as a Wasp player even yet. Having spent so much time down in
Gloucester, wasn't he? Yeah.
And of course, he's a West Country boy, comes from Cornwall.
They build him hard down there. So just over 23 minutes gone. England leading by that second penalty. And successfully converted by Ollie Barkley. Chance for the USA, but a big shove coming on now from England. Sean Perry wraps up Erskine. Good pick up there. USA trying to drive on, but England making it very difficult for the USA. Good pass by Erskine. On to Mike Hercus. Nothing Josh Lucy could do about that.
Well, there wasn't a good kick by Hercus. Sliced it off his left foot, his non-preferred foot. And you can see he's irritated with himself there.
So a chance for Mark Reagan to hit his marker in the centre. Will it be Shaw? Will it be Kay? Or will it be Worsley at the back? Simon Shaw at the front, Worsley right at the back, Ben Kay in between the two. It goes to Lawrence Dallaglio, in fact, the man I didn't mention. Now the rolling maul by England. Just trying to turn USA one way, then the other. They're going to the right. It's gone loose. There is Tom Rees. Perry away to Barkley. Little kick across there looking for Robinson. Robinson takes it. Now he's got support with Cueto, but USA quick to close down there. Very quick succession. England three-quarters, the USA three-quarters actually closed down Robinson and Cueto. Just inside America's 22. Perry tries to go himself. Brought down by the USA scrum half. Referee there just saying to the Americans, you've got to stay on side. That was a feed there by Mike Catt. Lawrence Dallaglio was tackled hard there. There goes Tom Rees once more. Been impressed with the Wasp flank out this half. Now there's men over here, but that was a poor pass from Barkley. England still in possession. Defending champions are finding it hard there, and that was not forward. That was a simple error by England.
Well, there's a couple of things. Firstly, I'm really surprised that they're not trying to drive the maul. They put on a driving maul, but then Tom Rees came off it just a little bit too early. I think they should be trying to drive these Americans back and sort of really exert their authority from the forwards. And then the other thing is that they're very, very static when they're moving the ball from ruck and maul. And you saw a big dump tackle on Lawrence Dallaglio. They just don't seem to be dominating up front, and that's where they've got to start winning this match.
Well, certainly the Americans are not being intimidated by England at all, as Joe Worsley takes the ball on a couple of meters. Perry once more to Barkley, right-footed, pushes it through. A chance here for England. The ball couldn't quite be gathered in there, but still problems for the USA. Brilliantly taken by Chris Wiles. Well, that was an opportunity missed there by England. This surely will end up in touch. No, it doesn't. Big hit coming in from Rees and Dallaglio. Mike Catt hunting for that ball. The USA will have it, though. This has really got to make touch, hasn't it?
Well, a little bit of inexperience there, but the ball was passed in Guena. And, mind you, I have to say, I thought England were odds on to score there. The ball, well, that's the joy of the rugby ball. It just doesn't bounce where you think it's going to bounce. But they had three men converging on that ball. I thought it was almost dead certain. It might have actually been better putting a boot to it, just because they were in behind the Americans there rather than trying to pick it up.
Good take by Simon Shaw. Such a massive man, doesn't really need lifting all that far. He's about 6'9" himself, well over 2 meters tall. And another situation where it looks as though it's total control from England, but they've got to keep the momentum. Just come to a bit of a halt there. Up towards the 22. Big heave sound coming from the crowd. There's plenty of English supporters here. They've gained another 5 meters. Sean Perry just controlling things. Joe Worsley going around that left-hand side. Right at the front there is Ben Kay and Lawrence Dallaglio. He's got to be careful that nobody binds onto him. He's facing the wrong way. Now Perry goes. Oh, that was a shocking pass. Misunderstanding there, and America coming away with it. Paul Emmerich. And here goes Ollie Barkley on his own, but he's isolated. Nobody's with him. Good control by England, and one of the American players there coming round offside. Well, promising, but I think a yellow card's going to be pulled this time.
Well, Jonathan Kaplan warned Mike Hercus before.
I did put him the yellow and he's sticking to my word.
Yeah, he doesn't mess about, the referee, does he? Asakir there, shaking his head, but he must have known that he was taking risks there.
Well, there was a daft penalty to give. I mean, they're obviously so fired up, the Americans. They're trying to get in and stop quick ball being released. But it was a daft penalty. It's just over the top.
You just get the feeling, though, David, that England really should have scored a try from the amount of possession they've just had.
Well, there was a statistic that flashed up a second ago which said they'd had 74% of the territorial advantage, and you know, they've had a lot of possession as well. I don't think they probably had 74% possession, but they've had a lot of the territory, a lot of the possession, and yet they're only 6-3, probably 9-3 points ahead now with 30 minutes on the clock.
Well, certainly Brian Ashton and his team will not be happy. Meanwhile, Ollie Barkley trying to add the extra 3 points for England. Nice kick, nice result. England 9, USA 3.
Well, that may cause the USA some problems. Asakir in the sin bin. Was an inside centre, so it's a question of probably taking one of their back row players. So Todd Clever or Louis Stanfield, putting them into the midfield, which, I mean, England really should start to try and capitalise on this and over the next 10 minutes and see if they couldn't score a try through the midfield somehow.
A quick switch of direction there by the captain, Mike Hercus, but out on the full, so they'll have to come back to the middle. Only just under 9 minutes to go till Jonathan Kaplan will blow the whistle for half-time.
Well, this is an ideal scenario. Scrum in the middle, big blind side, big open side, a flanker probably somewhere.
Knowing Johnny Wilkinson and how meticulous he is in terms of his game, I'm sure he'll be sitting there on the sidelines thinking, if I'm in a situation, that is precisely what I do. He's a great reader of the game as well as being a good exponent of it.
And I think what Johnny Wilkinson does, certainly in early parts of games, he tries to control the game by his kicking. You know, he's such a great tactical kicker, whether it's an up and under, whether it's the grubber, or whether it's kicking for the corners, just to put pressure on and try and make the opposition play from 30 yards from their line.
Problem still in the front row there.
Staying on the kicking team, I don't think we've there we go, 75% territory to England, but you know, we've hardly seen Ollie Barkley put the ball at all. He put a little grubber through, but England tried to play with the ball in hand.
A little bit of blood on Phil Vickery's temple, nothing too serious for the England captain. Now then, what can they do here? A little chip over the top by Mike Catt. That's meant for Josh Lucy, but it was always going out. I think that was a poor choice by the England centre. Rob Andrew certainly will not want to be in the position of somebody who is director of performance and rugby at the RFU for a team that receives a lot of criticism, certainly not at the end of this match, but in the whole of the World Cup. So he'll be quite concerned about this early performance from England, but hopefully he'll be just thinking, as the rest of the England team will, they're just going to settle into it, and that's what all English supporters hope. Owen Lentz there has a problem. Another American player born in South Africa and now has taken up residency in the USA. This guy, of course, Mr. Dalio, of course, eligible to play for Italy as well as England.
I think he made the right decision.
So a slight hold-up. One of the substitutes there ready to come on if required. It certainly has been an intriguing start to Rugby World Cup 2007. The French still smarting from their defeat by Argentina, but there's a long, long way to go in this tournament. So the throw-in from Owen Lentz is recovered, and that was a good bit of stealing there by Ben Kay. Didn't quite come off. Simon Shaw on the deck there. Some big American forwards, aren't there?
Well, they like the stakes over there, don't they?
And certainly has got some stakes of some considerable size. I'm sure the likes of Andrew Sheridan and Phil Vickery would not say no. It's got to be a big push by England. It almost went out the other side, but it was picked up by Henry Bloomfield, the American number 8, but stolen by England and chipped on there by the USA. Great pickup there. Tremendous pickup by Josh Lucy, himself a World Cup winner. Can Lucy go all the way? Just tripped at the last minute. There goes Tom Rees, heading for the corner. Now they want to release this ball quickly, which they do. Perry gets it away. Barkley looking for options. Mike Cannett was, in fact. And there is Robinson. He will not score a try easier than that.
Well, it's been a while coming, and it's had to come when the United States have been reduced to 14 men with one less centres away, but they had plenty of people out there, and they could have easily moved it by hand, but just as effective was the Mike Cack kit.
Well, take a look at this. It was started off by Lucy. Lucy evaded 1, 2, 3, 4 tackles and then just offloaded it. Then they received second phase ball there. Cat, a little chip across, knew exactly where Robinson would be. In fact, there were 2 England players, weren't there?
Well, as I say, there could easily have been a couple of missed passes to have the same effect. The huge overlap on this open side here.
Well, certainly the American winger there, Celesi Sika, was just sucked into the play. He just left Robinson a huge amount of space. Ollie Barkley, 3 from 3, 100% record so far. Just a little chip forward, and it just faded past that right-hand post. And Jason Robinson certainly will be absolutely delighted. I think it's fair to say Jason Robinson will retire permanently after this World Cup. I bet he's delighted to get on the score sheet. Scored, of course, in the World Cup final 4 years ago. I bet those two have talked about that a few times.
I would have thought so. I would have thought so.
England 14, the United States 3. Just 4 minutes to go before the end of regular time in this first half. The Americans have still got 1 man missing with that yellow card, of course. There's the try scorer. It certainly would be more convincing if England got another score before the end of this first half. And they're trying to run it. That was a poor pass. And straight over the head of Jamie Noon. That was scrappy.
Well, I can understand the intent, but the execution was poor. Yes, the Americans reduced in the 3 quarters. They're out of an inside centre, so all of their defensive alignments could be all over the place.
The referee just saying he's going to play on. That player doesn't get up. It can't be long, actually, before Ezekiel comes back on after his spell in the sin bin. Big number 5 there goes around looking for a pass from Todd Clever. It was stolen. Tom Rees once again doing great work. Certainly I think the England back row have been working well together, as you would expect from 3 men who belong to the same club. So just slight hold up there for an injury. I think it's his lower back. Certainly a big back.
Yeah.
And a little bit of concern there by Pete Thorburn on the left-hand side of the screen. Did you ever have problems with your back?
Well, 1 or 2. I had a disc which kept on popping out of alignment, and of course the muscles would go into spasm.
Very, very painful. We can just relive that moment there of the first England try. Similar position that Jason Robinson scored the try in the World Cup final, but it was a bit more difficult than that one. So play will recommence, despite the fact the injury is still there on the far side. There's Vickery. lot of music being played in the background, so there's a real carnival atmosphere here. But so far, the crowd haven't been enjoying carnival-style rugby. Little steal there. Oh, hands all over the place. USA got possession. Drop goal attempt for hands. That was beautifully executed. Oh, it just lacked a couple of meters or so. So Mark Cueto away for England. Goodness only knows why he didn't pass it to Jason Robinson. Just losing a bit of ground there was Lawrence Delalio. And this is where they really have been lacking in this first half, as Mike Catt gets it away. The quick possession that can come from situations like that. And that's when defenses can be caught out. But here are the United States on the counter-attack. Very, very high kick. Cueto. Sean Perry just trying to head it backwards. Good kick. Excellent kick. And that will be a great position for England to attack the Americans' throw-in.
But they need to have done more of that. I mean, they should have been doing that from the start of the game rather than trying to play the running game. There's Ollie Barkley. What a fantastic take that was.
Yeah, beautiful.
Concentration on the ball there.
That was the drop goal attempt. It wasn't far away, was it?
It wasn't.
Severely under pressure from the England defence. Now then, USA hang on to their own throw there. Simon Shaw just peeling off. There's the ball, little kick over the top. But England, if they get this, could counter-attack from here. Robinson, nobody better in the business, but is closed down very, very quickly. The England line standing quite steeply now. Coming up to the end of normal time. It's pushed away to Josh Lucy. Lucy goes inside, trips over Jamie Noon. Space here. There we go. That's a try for England. Ollie Barkley. Very simple in the end, but it's been a long time coming. Right on the stroke of full time.
Well, you expect gaps to appear when you're down an inside centre. Such a crucial person in terms of defensive alignment. But that was much better from England. They were recycling the ball well. They were moving the ball away from contact, putting the passes ahead, and they were getting some momentum on it.
Well, that was certainly the best three-quarter move there has been, with the exception, of course, of that little trip there. But this was good. Good hands. Very good hands indeed. So 5 more points for England's fly half. And in the end, of course, like all good things, it looked very simple. And Josh Lucy it was who just tripped up there. And Perry really done nothing wrong during this game. Beautiful hands by the lock forward Ben Kay. You forget actually sometimes just how clever some of these lock forwards are, like Simon Shaw. Simon Shaw's got great hands. You see him do it week after week for Wasps. So Ollie Barkley now. This will be right on the half-time whistle. There it is. Jonathan Kaplan blows for the first period of 40 minutes. So England, their first half of rugby in the 2007 World Cup. Not totally convincing, but they are leading the USA by 21 points to 3. Sheridan, Reagan and Vickery will have to just take care. So we're getting ready now to start the second half. Defending World Cup champions England up against the United States, and currently England leading by 21 points to 3. And the outstanding player, certainly the outstanding point scorer, Ollie Barkley, getting ready to restart. That was the guy, Asakia, USA number 12, who spent a bit of time in the sin bin. He's now back on. So the second period of 40 minutes, Barkley for England. And that is so close to the line. America take it. The referee there just saying, play on, Kaplan. Mr. Kaplan to you and I. Just Mark Cueto there, just knocking it forward, but the referee playing advantage. Look at the England defence, lined up right across the pitch. Little bounce there, straight into the arms of Lawrence Dallaglio, MBE. And referee will come back. There's Dallaglio with his Wasps teammate Joe Worsley. That was poor by Mark Cueto. For the first scrummage, Sheridan on this side for England. Certainly been touted by some when he started his international career as a saviour of the British front row, but he's had his ups and downs, hasn't he?
Well, it's interesting, as a front row forward myself, I think he would be far better suited to play on the other side of the scrum. He's got such a long back. You know, loose head is actually quite a technical position, and you need to try and get underneath the tight head, which if you're tall is very, very difficult to do.
That's the sort of thing your countryman Tom Smith was so good at.
Absolutely. And you look at Carl Heymans for New Zealand, he's made the tight head his own, and he's a big, tall guy, 6'5".
So Parry for England, just looking for that ball, swings it across midfield, and eventually it does make touch. Perhaps that wasn't the original intention. It's just up by the 10-metre line. There's Mike Catt. Great survivor in rugby terms, isn't he?
Absolutely. I mean, incredible longevity, and fortunate not to have too many serious injuries.
Lawrence Dallaglio almost getting a hand to that, but USA coming away. If they can get this pass away, it'd be useful. They're certainly being closed down there. Celeste Sika almost got away. Oh, now was that a mistake? No, it wasn't eventually. Josh Lucy. I thought he might have left it just a little bit too long there.
Well, it was interesting. Josh Lucy came flying up off his wing there, and almost gave the Americans an overlap, but shepherding that ball into touch.
Well, if the Americans had managed to get a hand to it, it was 3 against 2 there for the USA. And that ball there, tidied up by Lawrence Dallaglio. Mike Catt once again goes into the scrum half position. He's done that a lot today.
Well, American put in. What a great attacking position. I'm sure Ashton won't be happy that his side has started off the second half 5 yards from their own try line.
There's a famous face, World Cup winner on the right-hand side, Steve Thompson. He was presented to the crowd at the opening game of France-Argentina the other night. He's also coaching, I believe he's coaching in France actually. So here we go, a great chance for the USA. They've only got that solitary penalty at the moment, but they've lost it there. And certainly, I suppose you could say that England really turned the screw on the Americans on that occasion.
Well, it was a great English try. They really got the bit between their teeth, and it's incredibly demoralising when you're in a scrum that's going backward at that sort of pace, that's for sure.
And that presumably means the man we were just talking about before, Andrew Sheridan, who we can't quite see at the minute. That's Mark Raven. Sheridan must have pushed his heart out on that occasion. Oh, my goodness. So away goes Perry. Oh, dear me. You could hear from the reaction of the crowd what they thought of it and what Sean Perry thinks of it too.
Well, he didn't need to take that penalty. I mean, he was inside his own 22. He could have kicked a touch and gone for a really long touch if that's what he wanted to do. But look of exasperation on Brian Ashton's face here.
Well, Brian Ashton is known as a methodical man, a great planner, great tactician. And surely he can't be happy with what's happened here, but here goes Sheridan. Josh Lucy shouting for it. And this is where they want quick ball. They got it, but it was a bit messy. And they've got to recycle it quickly, haven't they? chance here. Big kick coming in from Cat, the alternate to Ollie Barkley in the outside half position. And there goes Sika. Popped it up for his fullback, Wiles. Now then, this is the big prop forward who hurt his back in the first half, Mike McDonald. Seems to be okay now. And all of a sudden, the USA have stolen the initiative, and here we go. Selesi Sika, 1 against 1, and Jason Robinson hurtling back, but it's picked up by the USA scrum half, Chad Erskine, but they'll have to come back.
A moment of glory. Well, they look very threatening there. Selesi Sika didn't quite have the pace to go all the way, but he certainly caused England defence a few problems. Great offload there, well taken by Herkus.
He's a big man, this fella, isn't he?
Well, he is. It'll take a wee bit of time to get going. But great defensive play by Jason Robinson, because he went and slapped the ball down and, of course, forced the knock-on.
It was all started on the other side of the pitch there by Ngwenya, who certainly has got legs on. This is another American player who sounds as though he shouldn't be playing for the USA. But that try, obviously not given, much to the disgust there of Pete Thorburn and his team.
Well, when I think he sees the video, he'll appreciate that there's no way that was ever going to be given a try.
So here we go. Sean Perry for England. Joe Worsley on this side. Flanker for England. Big push by Delalio and the rest. Delalio just running across the pitch there, not really gaining any ground. Ollie Barkley, though, downfield. We're coming up towards 47 minutes played altogether, so 7 minutes into this second half. Mark Reagan just applauding his players, asking for the extra yard.
That's much better by Barkley, much more controlled clearance, 50 yards or so on it.
Well, with guys like Simon Shaw and Ben Kay in the lineup, they must know they can attack any throw-in and any options that the Americans throw at them. Here we go. Kay goes up. Look at that. Great jump by England. Now they've got momentum. But if they leave it too long, of course, the American defense will get organized. Delalio just trying to pull his team round, but he can't push in that position there. But what about this? Here goes Sheridan. Little dummy from the prop forward. He's a massive man. And certainly it took more than just Lewis Stanfill in there to stop him. Shaw couldn't quite get the pass away. He had Tom Rees waiting on the outside, or Mark Reagan rather. So not forward. England will get the put in.
Well, that was much better by England, and it came from a catch and drive at the line out, and then this big fella in space took on Selesi Sika, and then quick ball, and that's been the difference. Now I think Shaw should have given that a little bit earlier, because I don't think there was anyone outside him.
That was Mike Herkus, the American captain, who got his hands on that one. But surely this is a great attacking position now for the World Cup champions from 2003. Certainly good. Great, in fact. See Andrew Sheridan stretch his legs there. He's like a dumper truck. Almost impossible to stop. And the Americans trying to spoil there. And England get a free kick. Away we go with Rees. Rees going for the line. Rees driven over the line. That's got to be a try. So this is Mr. Kaplan looking for a little bit of direction there from Stuart Dickinson, the fourth official. That's got to be a try for the England flank forward. Tom Rees of Wasps and England surely has got one.
Well, I think he's just trying to discover whether there was an American hand underneath which may have held it up, or whether he actually grounded it. It's hard to see from that.
I'd give it.
You've got to see the ball being grounded.
Yeah. There's all sorts of angles, of course. We haven't seen the reverse angle yet. That may help. We still can't see it. So the fourth official will still not be convinced, because he hasn't seen the ball grounded. Even there with the body of Mike Hercus behind it.
That's interesting. From that angle, you see Mike Hercus putting his hand on the ball, almost in the position that's...
Well, it's a try. Maybe they saw an angle that we didn't, but that is a try. Muted applause from Johnny Wilkinson, along with some of the other guys that aren't playing for England here. We, of course, got some great players over there. Steve Borthwick, Nick Easter, Perry Freshwater, Andy Gummersall, of course, and Wilkinson himself. So that score by Tom Rees takes the score on to 26. Can Ollie Barkley get the extra 2? Another fine kick from the outside half. Been absolutely rock solid today.
Well, the 10 minutes either side of half-time are absolutely critical. Here's the try from yet another angle.
You know, Tom Rees is not a big man either, but he drove over so fast there. Just caught everybody off guard. There we have it. England 28, the United States 3. 20 minutes to go in this first match of Group A. Worsley on to Ollie Barkley. It's a long kick from the outside half, but the fullback, Chris Wiles, left-footed, downfield, straight into the arms of Mark Cueto. There's a beautiful pass there, out to the midfield, and wonderful space for England to put pressure on the USA.
Well, you see, that's what they should have been doing in the first 20 or 30 minutes. Just kicking to the corners, put the pressure on, and let the USA play from 70 yards away from the England try line. That's a lovely kick by Barkley. It's reminiscent of Wilkinson, those big diagonal wiper kicks that go into the corner. And as you say, they've got a great line out, which they can now try and attack the USA line out and see if they can get a steal.
Well, it must be very confusing being Owen Lentz here, because he must be thinking, well, no matter where I throw it, one of the England players is going to pop up and steal it, as we see an American substitution. That is Alec Parker. Actually, no, Alec Parker was playing before. That's number 16, Blake Burdett. So the Americans trying to reorganize a little bit. Robbie, is there any sign of any England substitutes warming up on the touchline? I can't quite see from here. Thank you. There's Valanisi Malifa from American Samoa. He's won 3 caps for his country. So the gap, 25 points. Reagan way over the back. That was a misunderstanding. It was either a poor throw or the message didn't get through to the England hooker. The Americans have got a chance there. That almost was a touch forward. And Paul Emmerich there trying to stay on his feet. Losing ground there onto the prop forward, who really made no headway for the USA. But this is one of the best periods of possession they've had almost in the whole game. Very neat and tidy there by Emmerich. But England have stolen it. Delario, good hands. Back inside. No momentum going forward though. And that was messy. Beautifully through the legs there by Cueto. And on to Jamie Noon. But this is not the right result as far as England were concerned. Stolen once again by Emmerich for the USA. A little show and go there, but it came to nothing. Certainly Chad Erskine desperately trying to get that ball away quickly. The chip forward there by the American number 10. Eventually was picked up by Mike Mangan. Giant lock forward for the USA. Again, the chip forward from Mike Hercus. Now what can England do from here? Delalio wants to go on his own. Hasn't got the support though. Just taking their time. Mike Catt it was who tidied up there. And here we go, Worsley. This is better from England. Josh Lucy wants support, gets it eventually to Perry. And Phil Vickery was outside him, but decided to go himself. Delalio in support, trying to roll them over. Now here go England on this left-hand side. Oh, dear me. Well, Robinson was chasing after the ball, but that all seemed too static from England.
Well, it was not a classic case. They should have moved the ball left. They had men out wide, plenty of people there, and yet it all got slowed down. And well, here's the knock on there. It's replacement Malifa, I think, he knocked it on.
In view of the experience that Josh Lucy has, I'm surprised that you know, he did that. He's actually got to stand up and stay strong and wait for players to come in around him, and then England can move the ball forward. Well, Henry Bloomfield is on the number 8, and Inaka Basuri, another foreign import who's actually born in Mexico. And away England go once more. An opportunity here. Little chip forward and the chase is on, but that was almost a 5-pointer for England. Josh Lucy prefers to keep it in the hands, but it was a very, very good chase there by the American substitute. And that was a bit messy, wasn't it? Do England look like world champions to you, David?
Well, not on the basis of this performance. I think you know, we've seen Australia come onto their game. We've seen New Zealand absolutely tear apart Italy. And you'd have to say that I think on the basis of current World Cup performances, either of those sides would beat England.
Well, that actually came off the foot there of Jason Robinson, so the USA will have the throw in here, but as they well know, England will attack the throw in. There's Mark Cueto.
45 Chicago! Look up! 45 Chicago!
Yeah, that's going to be very interesting. I much would have preferred Matthew Tate to have come on. I think he's a more creative player than Andy Farrell. But interesting that Richards should come on. Perry certainly had a very, very good game. England desperate just for a bit of quality possession here, and being frustrated by the bravado, if you like, of Paul Emmerich and the rest of his American side. That will go into touch, and that presumably, David, will be a chance for England to make their substitutions. And interesting to see what sort of role they're going to use Andy Farrell in.
Well, he's a playmaker, really, Farrell, isn't he? And it was interesting, I think, on his debut for England against Scotland last year in the RBS Six Nations, he came in as first receiver, not off first phase plays, but off ruck and maul, and really controlled the game well. Oh, dear me.
That was almost a huge mistake there by the Americans, but away they come. Decisive running. Needs support. Good tackle coming in there from Jamie Noon. One or two of the American forwards, they're just slow to arrive, but it was an England hand that the referee saw. And so England will be penalised. There's the man who made that, Jamie Noon. Tom Rees going in there. Couldn't quite catch his man, could he? It was a great little breakout.
Well, fantastic pace from the fellow who spent 10 minutes in the sin bin, Isikia. He was looking around him, but should have just made a decision slightly earlier, I think. He had options both inside and out.
He seemed to have all the time in the world, looking right, then looking left. There's the captain. That I think is Mike McDonald, this giant prop forward for the Now, England trying to attack. They decide not to. They just try and drive the USA outside of the 22. But referee there saying it wasn't straight. So England preferring to take the scrummage. Number 16 on this side for the USA, Blake Burdett. He's playing in his 6th international. He's going to find it hard against Andrew Sheridan. There's a guy with a few muscles. Well said, Robbie. Just wait until we get Tonga and Samoa playing on the same field. That'll be interesting. Well, the USA have just been camped down here for the last couple of minutes, and there is Sean Perry going off, and Peter Richards, who I've seen on many occasions pull on the 7th jersey for England. He's been absolutely outstanding. Plays for London Irish, of course, a teammate of Mike Catt. So it'll be interesting to see how those two guys combine. 20 minutes to go. England 28, the USA 3. A slight problem there. I'm not quite sure why referee Kaplan is just holding up play at the moment. Is it a matter of frustration on the face of Mr. Ashton?
Well, I would have thought so. I think he'll appreciate his side have got a lot of work to do before that big match that we talked about earlier against South Africa.
Oh my goodness. That is the first scrummage for that young man, so we'll have to go again. Once more, the front row having problems just keeping their feet. One or two of the bits of the pitch there, around about the 22, is breaking up quite badly. That will be interesting. Be more than that, it'll be very interesting to see who comes off in preference to Martin Corrie, whether he goes in at lock forward or in the back row somewhere. Meanwhile, Lawrence Dallaglio has just made a bit of an error there with his passing. USA ready to pounce, and the English just seem to be hemmed in a wee bit here. And Peter Richards played at every level for England, went to the same school as Johnny Wilkinson, Lord Wadsworth School in London. They actually played together. There's Martin Corrie, the former England captain, along with Andy Farrell, George Shooter as well. Got quite a bit of experience there to bring in, haven't they? Now then, USA on the attack. Good little breakout once again by Isikia. England have got to put him down earlier. He's not particularly big, but he's certainly proving elusive at the moment. Ollie Barkley just being shoved off the ball there. Little inside pass by Mike Hercus. Oh, and there's a man over here, but can't quite take that on the burst, but he can. That was a great little burst out of defence by Blake Burdett. So England under a bit of pressure.
Well, you have to say that the USA actually look as though they're in control of this match at the moment. They're playing pretty well. They're recycling ball well. They're stretching the English defence. Although, you know, you have to say that the English defence have looked pretty solid right the way through this match. So if there is a really strong positive coming out of it, it's the way that they've defended. It's just their attacking has lacked momentum, and they just don't look quite as convincing as perhaps Brian Ashton would have wanted them to be.
Well, there's George Shooter, so Reagan is off, so is the captain, Phil Vickery. Got a feeling Simon Shaw will be out of here as well. There he is, Simon Shaw just loping over towards the touchline. But Don't be worried if you're an England supporter. They've brought on some really fantastic players. And there's Andy Farrell. Just in the top left-hand corner of the screen there, you can see the substitutions. Von Curry has come on for Simon Shaw. Shooter for Reagan. 28 points to 3. So around about 7 minutes left. That was the last substitution that was made. Farrell coming on for the experience of Mike Catt. Lawrence Delalio there just pushing Chris Ostanowski. Canadian prop forward out of the way as England burst through once more. This is better by England, but Ollie Barkley needs support. A little left-footed punt there. And he's got Jason Robinson chasing it. That was well taken in by the American Valanisi Malifa. Well, we've seen patches where Ollie Barkley has been absolutely sharp as a pin. And on that occasion, he did exactly the same as he did in the first half on more than one occasion.
Well, I think everybody appreciates that for all his strengths and his assets, Ollie Barkley offers a little bit more for as a running fly half compared to Johnny Wilkinson. But again, he's not really shaped this game, I'm sure, as Brian Ashton would have liked him to.
Play on! And George Shooter there, aiming for Ben Kay, didn't quite make it. Tidied up there by the giant from there. It is Andrew Sheridan, 6 feet 4 inches tall. That's not Sheridan, of course, but 6 feet 4. That's Matt Stevens, and 19 stone or 125 kilos, whichever way you want to put it. It is some bulk. And Matt Stevens is no shrinking violet either. Born in Durban and plays for Bath. There's Pete Richards, the scrum half. Very impressed with the scrum half Perry today, though. I thought he played well. So here we go. Coming up to 65 minutes now. England 28, the USA 3. Pete Richards thought the ball was coming out at the back, but it didn't. Just popped out the side there, picked up by Todd Clever for the USA. Oh my goodness, that was a huge mistake there. And good tackle coming in by Ollie Barkley. That was a poor pass as well from the scrum half. Severe pressure now for the USA. Mike Kirkus, the captain, absolutely buried by England. And that was a kick out of pure frustration, just to get the ball as far away as possible.
Well, he'll be relieved that he's got his team out of trouble. He put this team in trouble by two desperately poor passes, the American scrum half, Chad Erskine.
Well, there certainly has been a thorough workout for Lawrence Delalio, as we see Matthew Tate, the latest of the England substitutes, who's come on for Jason Robinson. Well, Tate has played at 3 different positions for England so far: winger, centre, and also at fullback. But of course, he's got to get good, clean ball if he's going to make any use of it. Tidied up there by the man that is Todd Clever. Richards there, almost being caught offside, but he just pulled back at the last minute. That's a poor kick. So once again, England will have an opportunity at the line-out.
Well, interesting, that's about the second time they've done an overthrow to the tail of the line-out and lost ball on their own throw in England, which won't please anyone, particularly when they're in great attacking positions like that. They really need to make the most of these attacking positions. That's another one they've lost.
Yeah, that was a poor line-out for England. Joe Worsley looking none too pleased about the result of that throw-in. We'll have a scrum down. It's USA with an opportunity to win the scrum and then get the ball as far away from their line as possible.
And really, in the closing quarter again, you expect the favourites of the side and the top 2 of the side really to be turning the screw on these minnows. But the USA, they've battled valiantly right the way throughout. And, actually, when they're putting themselves when they're under pressure, it's because they put themselves under pressure rather than because England have put them under pressure. English defence is good, but really, they've got a long way to go before they defend their trophy.
successfully. Let's not forget of the matches to come. Not only have they got South Africa, I think Samoa will test them to the limit as well. Knock forward there. So scrum down. Pete Richards with the ball. Just having a quick chat with Ollie Barkley as to what options there are. George Shooter there saying, come on. Leicester Tigers hooker, replaced Mark Reagan. And he's got two very useful props either side of him as well. I think Martin Corino, who's come on, he's playing in the second row. I think he's a fabulous second row forward. I think he's better there than in the back row. Peter Richards just telling his guys to hang on to the ball. Barkley there with the mismove inside. Now, quick ball is what is required here. Richards away. Just a little spin round there from one of the forwards. Couldn't quite get through. Richards trying to send it out to the right-hand side, but he gets a second chance. Forward by England. Once again, a little bit of indecision there, and it's gone wrong for the England side.
Just couldn't clear that ball fast enough. A bit of a knock on there as well from the... yeah, you see the frustration.
Thank you. Now, certainly that's a famous name in rugby, isn't it? Maxted. And just looking on the team sheet here, he'll be wearing number 18. Mike Mangan goes off. You know, you keep saying big guy. They're all big. All of these forwards are absolutely massive. They're certainly very, very big and strong indeed. Joe Worsley is taking a rest, and Lewis Moody has got 12 minutes to stake a claim for a starting berth in this England team. So every substitute has been used by England so far. I don't think there's any doubt they've closed the game down, and the USA are not going to win it. But it'd be interesting to see if guys like Andy Farrell, and Andy Farrell there with 21 on his back, right at the back of that ruck and maul. Certainly a very, very tough player. Fabulous rugby league player in his day. That was almost chased down by Moody.
It's a great kick by Mike Perkis. His forwards will thank him for that. Might buy him a beer tonight. They've been under the cosh for the last 5 or 10 minutes, but great credit to the American Eagles. I mean, they've kept England out. They've prevented them from scoring a try.
Yeah, right. It was a superb kick under pressure. But, let's make no mistake about it. England came here with one thing and one thing only, I think, in their mind, and that was to make sure there were winning points on the board, and there's no doubt they've done that. But Ollie Barkley there, certainly one of the stars of the show. That was George Shooter running into a battering ram of an American defence there. Good pick up by Lewis Moody, almost along the line. Matthew Tate, last England player to have his hands on the ball. There's Richards. Farrell spun it across outside to Moody, standing in the left winger's position. And certainly England look as though they've got more options than at any other time during the game at the moment, but they need good clean possession.
And it's slow ball again. Very slow ball.
Richards. The turnover was quick this time. There's Farrell. Quick pair of hands out to Mark Cueto, the England fullback. A few bitten fingernails, I think.
Well, they've won the game, and they've won the game with by a reasonable margin, but it's certainly not been a convincing performance. That's the big hit. George Shooter meets an immovable object.
Back.
Welcome to the World Cup, George.
Touch.
So a chance for the USA. Just steadying that scrummage. It was a good take there by the American number 8. Big kick coming in, being chased back by Matthew Tate. Now, believe it or not, You wouldn't know it from that angle. This guy's got some of the best acceleration I've ever seen in a rugby player. But Lawrence Dallaglio having words there. But, referee having none of it. There's Tate. He's got absolutely blistering acceleration.
Well, my eldest boy had to match up against him for his PE assessment when he was doing his A-level down at Newcastle, where they get assessed, and he said he was absolutely electric.
There you go. Little chip forward there by Mike Hercus. Time is running away from the Americans, but they're certainly giving it a good shot.
Well, when you consider the platform that England had at half-time, you would expect a side of their quality, their calibre, their class to really turn the screw in the second half and sort of stretch their lead and be entirely convincing in their victory. But they've been far from that, I'm afraid.
Now, are they going to keep it close? Machioli at the back of that drive by the USA. There's the ball. Now, if I was the Americans, I'd keep it really close here because they've got some real strength merchants in there. There's a number 17, the giant that is Machioli. Looking to go wide. Is there a gap in the England defence? Not at the moment. Certainly a good tackle coming in there from the former England skipper Martin Corey, but roll away, and they didn't, so they'll be penalised, and they'll have to go back another 10 metres. I think actually the referee there has been a bit short on the amount of distance he gave the Americans.
Well, they have to come 5 metres from the touchline, from the try line. Well, I wonder if they're going for a yellow card.
Now, who's he pointing at? Lawrence Dallaglio? Surely not. My goodness gracious me. Well, a bit of a sound now to end on for Lawrence Dallaglio, and a possible advantage here to the United States. Blake Burdett it is who starts off that move. The player's absolutely buried underneath there. The American feel as though they've got the initiative. I don't think there's any way that Sikia can go, but look at the big man. He's got it. That would be a real fillip to Matigatonga Mekiola for the United States. He'll be absolutely delighted. The former Tongan. And they have finished off with a real flourish, haven't they?
Well, they have, and they've worked really hard, and you have to say that they've deserved it, and they've pressurised England. The English defence, for once, not able to handle the big fella.
Well, that will certainly improve their confidence going into games number 2, 3 and 4. But when you go up against Ollie Barkley and you weigh close to 130 kilos, you know you've got an advantage. So the American coach there, Pete Thorburn, will be absolutely delighted. No drinks tonight, though, but I'm sure they'll have a little celebration.
Oh, you never know. He might allow them a beer.
So the captain. Scoreline hasn't been altered yet on our caption, but the captain here, Mike Hercus, for the extra 2. And in the end, it's very simple. Cheers from the try scorer. It was a real bonus of those 7 points for the USA, wasn't it?
Absolutely. And, well, I guess they're drawing the second half, aren't they?
Well, they are pretty much, yes. In fact, yes, they are. It's exactly tied up for the second half, but there is the overall score. England 28, the USA 10. As the clock runs down, Lewis Moody is always great at kickoffs, but he couldn't quite get to that one. It was picked out by Ezekiel. Americans look a different side at the moment.
Well, they've been very competitive right the way through this match, and England really only have themselves to blame.
Well, Chad Erskine desperate to get on with the game, but was tripped over himself there. But the Americans still have possession. Drive on by England, but it didn't make any difference. That was spun away by Malifa. USA over the 10-meter line. Good tackling though, coming in from Matthew Tate. Jimmy Noon just on the far side. A steal for England now. Matthew Tate swings it across. A little bit scrappy there, but they'll have to come back for the knock forward.
Well, they've just given England the advantage from the American knock-on, and Ben Kay just couldn't quite hold it in the midfield. Not a great pass.
It's going to be very interesting, David, when the adjudicators at the ground here say who their man of the match is. Who would yours be?
Well, I guess Ollie Barkley has always threatened. He's had one or two breaks. He scored that nice try, and he's capable. But for a fly half, they really need to be able to control a match. And he should have done much more kicking, I think, in the first half. Kept us going forward, and given them the platform to attack the Americans from. But as a consequence of not doing that, and not controlling the game, the Americans have been in it for the whole 80 minutes or so, and they're finishing very, very strongly.
They certainly are. So I haven't quite got the gist of this. Is he your man of the match, or isn't he? Or are you not going to commit yourself on this occasion? I
think you probably have to give Ollie Barkley the man of the match award, but that's only because he's on the winning team. I mean, I think Asiki, apart from his yellow card, has looked very threatening in the midfield for America.
Well, safety first there for England. Left-footed down the field by that man. Andy Farrell plays for Saracens, of course. Interesting that he's only had 5. Been so much talk about Andy Farrell over the last couple of years, and of course he was injured for a long time. But at 1.95 meters and about 115 kilos body weight, he's some formidable force.
Well, there was always the big discussion: should he play in the back row or should he play at centre? And
he's certainly a great thinker of the game. Good tactician. So America finishing the stronger, and they get a penalty. Surely they won't have a kick at goal. They will want the full 7 points. Going to have a chat with Tom Rees there.
Well, I wonder if that's another fella in the bin.
Multiple times. This is your last warning. It is towards the end of the game, so you'd be silly to give another one.
A warning for the final time. The former England captain Martin Corey. There's certainly something you can't fault with Martin Corey is his work rate. So the captain, Mike Hercus, trying to put this as far down the field in the corner as possible. Pretty good, halfway between the 22 and the goal line.
Well, you have to say that the Americans have won an awful lot of respect here in Lens from the French crowd. They're finishing the stronger of the two sides in many respects, and who wouldn't back them to score a try here just to put the icing on the cake?
That's a bit worrying as far as England are concerned, because it's times like this where matches are won and lost, and if it came to the crunch, you certainly would want the England team to be finishing the stronger of the two. But here go the USA. Good driving run there by Alec Parker. Oh, that was a bit scrappy. That was the flank forward, Todd Clever. Good breakout there by Ollie Barkley. Cueto, left-footed down the field. But, easily controlled there by Chris Wiles. Spun across. Right out to the far side. This guy can motor. Mwenya buried underneath there for the USA. Just picked off his toes there by the captain, Hercus. And the next time the play breaks down, I'm sure the referee will blow his whistle. There is the try scorer stolen there by Martin Corey. Now, can England finish off with a flourish? George Shooter there. Out to Matthew Tate. Not particularly good passing by the English players. That was a terrible tackle. A terrible tackle. That's certainly one of the American players of the day, Paul Emmerich. But if we see a a slow motion replay of that tackle again. And that is Ollie Barkley. So our choice as good as the IRPs. That was awful. That could have been a terrible accident. And surely that's got to be a red card.
Well, he certainly can't condone anything of that nature.
Well, it's only a yellow. Maybe there may be a citation after the game. We'll have to wait and see. But Ollie Barkley is back on his feet, looking a bit dazed though, and it's not surprising. I think if there is to be a penalty, England will be perfectly satisfied with kicking this ball out into touch, and we don't want to see that too many times again. So we get it twice in a row. And Paul Emmerich has been one of the best players, but he really has disgraced himself there, and that will be the final whistle, surely. The time added on. Ollie Barkley certainly up for it. George Shooter getting ready to throw the ball in.
Well, this is extraordinary. The ball's gone out of play. It should be the final whistle. We had that extraordinary scenario in the RWC Six Nations last year with Wales and Italy when they kicked the touch. And obviously that stopped play with the clock up. But,
well, that was a beautifully worked line out between Ben Kane, George Shooter. Matthew Tate just brought down, and a drive on here by Farrell. Farrell just slips it outside. It goes back in, but couldn't quite get his hands to it. And good to see Farrell in full flow. Haven't seen that too many times this season wearing the England shirt. He certainly can motor for a big man. Good vision as well. Slips it outside to Josh Lucy. Lucy should really have done better.
well, he didn't have much room to work in.
That tackle coming in there by Michiola. England will push for all their work on this one and try and make life as difficult as possible. Pete Richards getting stuck in on the far side. And Mr. Kaplan blows for a knock forward. That surely is it. That is the end of the game. 2 yellow-carded players off at the end of the first match in Pool A. A little bit of frustration on the face there of Andrew Sheridan, but on the positive side, England have won it by 28 points to 10, but certainly there will be an inquest into the world champions afterwards.
Well, the points may go to England, but I think the plaudits have to go to the USA. They've been tenacious, committed, courageous, and they've just, done extremely well. And well, you have to question England's tactics, perhaps their selections, but they certainly don't look like a side on today's evidence who are going to be capable of defending their World Cup trophy, the Webb Ellis Trophy.
Well, let's not write them off straight away. There is certainly a long way to go, and as we know, anything can happen. There are still some people even suggesting that France can still win the World Cup. But certainly Ollie Barkley there, the man of the match. And Mark Quater and the rest of them will go back now for a well-earned rest. The most important thing as far as they are concerned was points on the board. And that is what happened. But as you say, plaudits to the Americans for the effort they put in. There's the final score. England 28, the USA 10. So England just waiting for the Americans to come off the pitch, and they will be applauded off, that is for sure. Interesting that all 22 players selected today got a little bit of a run out, and I think that was quite significant.
Well, I think it's important. I mean, the match was won by England. I think it was important for Ashton to see some of his other players. Perhaps look at his centre combination, not entirely convincing, I don't think, with Mike Catt there. I mean, Mike Catt's been brought in to be the playmaker, to shape the game, but he didn't do that with Barkley in the first half. They didn't dominate possession, they didn't dominate territory, not in the way that they ought to have done. consistently they should have pinned the Americans back in their own half and just allowed the scoreboard to tick over, force them to make mistakes. But, well, you have to give the Eagles credit.
I think that's possibly one of the USA's best ever international performances against one of the big five: New Zealand, Australia, South Africa, England, and let's say another at the moment, because France.
Scotland, you mean?
Of course, yes. That's silly of me. Lawrence Dallaglio there, who spent the last few minutes of the match in the sin bin. Simon Shaw substituted. Andrew Sheridan there right in the middle, born in South Africa but now semi-permanent fixture in the England shirt. But they've got so much strength on the bench as well, and we're yet to see the likes of Nick Easter, who is being talked about as a future England star, and Paul Sackey, of course, the